Most men will never understand why she lost interest. There are three kinds of men in this world. The first kind gets left and spends 6 months analyzing her Instagram stories, replaying every conversation and wondering what he said wrong. The second kind gets left, tells himself she was crazy, and walks straight into the same dynamic with the next woman. And then there's the third kind, the rare man who gets left, goes completely silent, and comes back 6 months later, so fundamentally different that she can't even explain to her friends why she suddenly can't stop thinking about him. You're watching this video, which means you already sense you don't want to be the first to. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to understand the invisible mechanism that killed her attraction, and more importantly, what it tells you about who you were being. Let's start with something nobody says out loud. She didn't lose interest because you did something wrong. She lost interest because of who you became around her. There's a difference, and that difference is everything. Most men treat attraction like a checklist. Say the right things, show up consistently, don't cheat, be kind. They do all of it. And then one day, she's distant, then cold, then gone. And the man is standing there with receipts. I was good to her. I was there, I did everything right. And he genuinely believes that, which is exactly the problem. Here's the concept you need to sit with. Comfort is not the same as attraction. You became comfortable to her, safe, predictable, and the moment a woman can fully predict you, the moment she knows exactly how you'll respond to her coldness, her tests, her moods, her distance, the tension that creates desire collapses. Not because she's cruel, because that's how the wiring works. Attraction is not a logic problem, it's a felt experience. And what she felt, somewhere between month 2 and month 8, was that you needed her more than you needed yourself. Think about the early days. You had a life, you had plans. You had an edge to you, not because you were playing games, but because you genuinely weren't sure where this was going, and that uncertainty lived in your posture, your tone, the way you didn't text back in 4 seconds. She felt that. It pulled her. Then slowly, almost without noticing, you started organizing your life around her availability. You started checking your phone differently. You started softening your opinions when she pushed back. You stopped making plans with your boys because maybe she'd be free. You shrunk, not dramatically, not in one moment, but incrementally, in 100 micro decisions that she registered in her body before her mind even had language for it. This is where most men make the fatal mistake of asking the wrong question. They ask, "What did I do?" instead of, "Who did I become?" Because the honest answer is brutal. You became a man who needed her validation to feel okay. And a woman cannot sustainably feel attraction for a man she has that much power over. It violates something primal in the dynamic. She wanted a man she couldn't fully hold. She got a man who handed her the leash. I'm not saying this to shame you. I'm saying this because every man reading this has done it, including the ones who swear they haven't. It's not weakness, it's what happens when you care about someone and you haven't been taught that how much you care should never exceed how much you respect your own direction. Nobody taught you that the most attractive thing you can do in a relationship is remain, fundamentally, a man with somewhere else to be. Picture this scene. You've been together 8 months. She cancels plans, last minute, vague excuse. Version 1 of you quietly rearranges his evening around her potential re-availability, checks his phone twice an hour, and sends a "let me know if you change your mind" text that she reads and doesn't answer until morning. Version 2 of you says, "No problem," calls a friend, goes out, has a genuinely good night, and responds to her 11 p.m. text with something short and unbothered before going to sleep. Those two versions of you produce completely different emotional experiences in her. One tells her she has all the leverage. The other reminds her that you exist with or without her participation, and that reminder is more attractive than any dinner reservation, any compliment, any conversation about feelings you thought would bring you closer. The psychology behind this isn't manipulation. It's polarity. When you collapse into her world, you merge. When you maintain your own gravity, there's space for desire to live. Desire requires distance, not emotional unavailability. That's a different thing, and don't confuse them. You can be emotionally present, warm, even vulnerable, while still being a man who is fundamentally oriented toward his own life. That orientation is what she fell for in the beginning. The tragedy is that most men, in trying to love a woman well, slowly dismantle the very thing that made her want them. Here's where it gets deeper, and most men never go here because it requires looking at something uncomfortable. The moment she started pulling away, what did you do? Be honest, you probably leaned in. You got more attentive, more available, more communicative. You started initiating more, you asked more questions. You maybe brought up, "Where is this going?" or "Are we okay?" more than once. You were trying to fix it. You were trying to feel your way back to her. And every single one of those moves, made from a genuine place, made because you actually cared, accelerated the very thing you were trying to stop. This is the cruelest part of the whole dynamic. The instinct to pursue harder when someone pulls away is deeply human. It's attachment theory in real time. But in the context of masculine and feminine polarity, that instinct, when it becomes your dominant response, reads as desperation. And desperation is not a feeling, it's a signal. It tells her nervous system something has shifted, that you are now chasing, that the frame has flipped. And once the frame flips, once she is the one with the power and you are the one in pursuit, it is nearly impossible to recover without a complete reset of who you're showing up as. What she needed in that moment was not more of you. She needed less access to you and more evidence that you had a self worth coming back to. She needed to feel the weight of your absence, but you never gave her that because you were terrified that pulling back would confirm the loss. So you stayed close, and in staying close, you confirmed it anyway, just slower and more painfully. Myth, if you just communicate better, she'll come back around. You've been told this, probably by well-meaning people, maybe even by her. I just need you to open up more. I just need you to talk to me. And you did. You opened up. You talked. You told her how you felt, what you were afraid of, what she meant to you, and she listened. And then she pulled away more. Because here is the raw truth that no communication workshop will ever tell you. Emotional expression without emotional grounding reads as instability, not intimacy. When a man processes his insecurity out loud to the woman he's losing, he is not being vulnerable. He is outsourcing his emotional regulation to her, and she feels that weight. She becomes your therapist instead of your woman, and you cannot be sexually attracted to your therapist. Real vulnerability, the kind that actually creates depth in a relationship, comes from a man who has already done the internal work and is choosing to share from a place of strength, not leaking from a place of fear. The difference in delivery is subtle. The difference in impact is everything. One version says, "I have processed this and I want you to know me more deeply." The other says, "I am drowning and I need you to save me." Women are not equipped to be life rafts. The ones who try end up resenting you. The ones who don't end up leaving. Either way, you lose. Now let's talk about the thing underneath all of this, because the behavior is the symptom. The root is something most men have been carrying since long before this woman came into their lives. It's the belief, unspoken, maybe unconscious, that a relationship is where you go to feel complete. That the right woman, maintained correctly, will fill whatever is hollow in you. That love is a destination, and if you can just hold on to this one, you'll finally arrive somewhere solid. That belief is the real reason she lost interest. Not anything you said, not a text you sent too fast. The belief itself. Because a man who is searching for completion through a woman will always, eventually, collapse into her. He will always make her responsible for something she was never designed to carry, and she will feel that weight before she has words for it, and she will begin, slowly, to step back from it. The man she stays for, the man she chases, the man she talks about to her friends with that specific kind of frustration that's really just unresolved desire, that man is not trying to complete himself through her. He is already building something. He has a direction. He wakes up oriented toward his own becoming, and she gets to be part of that if she shows up. Not the destination, not the fuel. A companion on a road he was already walking. That distinction changes everything about how he moves, how he speaks, how he responds when she pulls back, how unbothered he is when the room shifts. He is not performing confidence. He simply has less room for chaos because his life is already full of purpose. And that fullness, that's what she was attracted to before she could name it. That's what she kept looking for after it faded. That's what she grieved when she finally walked away, even if she told herself and everyone else a completely different story. So, what do you actually do with this? Because understanding the psychology is one thing. Sitting with the clarity that you slowly became someone unrecognizable to yourself, that's another. And the hardest part isn't accepting that she lost interest. The hardest part is accepting that somewhere along the way, you lost interest in yourself first. You stopped investing in your own becoming. You stopped treating your time, your energy, your attention as something with weight and value. You made yourself infinitely available and then wondered why she stopped reaching. You can't commodify water and then be surprised nobody's paying for it. This is where most men want a tactical answer. They want the 3 texts to send, the right amount of days to wait before reaching out, the perfect thing to say that reopens the door, and I understand that impulse. When you're in pain, you want a lever to pull. But here's what nobody who sells you those tactics will admit. The tactics only work on the surface. They might get a response, they might even get a conversation. But if the man sending those messages is the same man she already walked away from, same posture, same neediness, same hollowness underneath the new script, she will feel it within minutes. Women are extraordinarily good at this. They don't know how they know. They just know. And the moment she feels it, the door closes again. Harder this time, because now there's the added layer of, he's trying to manipulate me back. The only thing that actually works is the thing that takes the longest and feels the most counterintuitive when you're hurting. You have to become genuinely unrecognizable, not for her. That framing will poison the whole process for you, because you finally got honest enough with yourself to admit that the man you were in that relationship, the one who shrank, who checked his phone, who made her comfort his metric for his own okayness, that man was not the best version of you. He was a version of you that had quietly abandoned himself in the name of love. And that version deserves to be left behind regardless of what she does next. This means you go back to the things that were yours before she existed in your world. The work you stopped taking seriously, the friendships you let quietly atrophy, the physical discipline you negotiated away, the ambitions you put on hold because being with her felt like enough. You pick those things back up, not as a strategy, not as a performance for a potential audience of one, but because a man without his own gravity is a man at the mercy of every emotional current around him. And you have lived that. You know what it costs. Step 1 is the most unglamorous thing you'll ever do. You stop monitoring her completely. No checking who she's following. No analyzing her story views, no asking mutual friends how she seems. Every time you do any of that, you are choosing her reality over yours. You are sending your own nervous system the message that she is still the center, that her next move still determines your emotional weather. And your nervous system believes what you tell it through your actions, not your intentions. So the action has to change first. Cold. Clean. Redirect every unit of attention you were spending on her back into your own life, and do it before you feel ready, because you will never feel ready. Step 2 is harder, and most men skip it because it requires sitting in silence long enough to hear the things they've been avoiding. You have to get honest about what you were actually looking for in that relationship, not what you told her, not what you told your friends, not the story you've been rehearsing. The real answer. Were you lonely before her? Were you using the relationship as evidence that you were worthy? Were you afraid that without her choosing you, the verdict on you as a man was somehow still out? Because those fears didn't start with her. She just became the place you stored them. And unless you excavate them now, you will unpack them in the next relationship and the one after that. And the pattern will keep repeating with different faces and the same ending. This is not comfortable work. It is not the kind of thing you post about. There is no aesthetic to it. It is you alone, face to face with the parts of yourself you've been outsourcing to women to manage. The neediness, the validation seeking, the terror underneath the bravado that says, maybe I'm actually not enough on my own. You have to look directly at that. Not to punish yourself. Self-loathing is just another way of avoiding accountability. But to finally, clearly see the architecture of the problem so you can build something different on top of it. Because here is what exists on the other side of that work. A version of you that doesn't need the outcome. Who can want a woman without requiring her? Who can be rejected without it restructuring his identity? Who can love without losing himself in it? That man is not cold. He is not emotionally unavailable. He is not performing detachment as a strategy. He is genuinely, structurally secure, and that security radiates outward in a way that no amount of coaching, no perfect opener, no curated Instagram presence can fake. People feel it when they're around him. Women feel it especially. And that man, the one you're capable of becoming, doesn't spend his nights reverse engineering where it went wrong. He already knows where it went wrong. It went wrong the moment he stopped being the main character in his own life and handed that role to someone else. He knows this not because he read it somewhere, but because he lived the cost of it and decided quietly that he would never pay that price again. Not out of bitterness, not out of armor, out of genuine self-respect that was built in the dark, when nobody was watching, when there was no woman to perform it for. Here is something that will sit with you if you let it. She didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because you forgot that you were. There's a version of you that existed before her, maybe before the last 3 relationships, who moved through the world with a particular kind of weight, who made decisions without polling the room, who had opinions he didn't soften to keep the peace, who was building something and invited people into that orbit rather than orbiting around theirs. That man didn't disappear. He got buried under the accumulated weight of seeking approval, of making himself palatable, of confusing self-erasure with love, and the excavation of that man. That is the actual work. Everything else is noise. Most men will never do this work. That is not cynicism. That is just the reality of what it requires. It requires you to sit with discomfort long enough that you stop running from it. It requires you to stop blaming her, stop blaming the situation, stop blaming timing, and look at the one variable that was present in every relationship that didn't work. You. Not as a condemnation, as a doorway, because the only thing you have complete jurisdiction over is who you are and who you are becoming. And the moment you stop using her absence as evidence of your inadequacy and start using it as the exact pressure needed to forge something harder and more real in you, that is the moment everything shifts. Not with her necessarily, with you, which is the only shift that actually matters. There will be a day, and you won't be able to predict when it comes, where you realize you haven't thought about her in 3 days, then a week. Then you'll hear a song that used to wreck you, and you'll feel almost nothing, just a faint recognition, like looking at a photograph of somewhere you used to live. And in that moment, you will understand something that cannot be taught, only experienced, that you didn't get over her by replacing her, or by hating her, or by proving something to her. You got over her by becoming someone with so much forward momentum that the past simply couldn't keep up. That is the destination. Not her, not a better version of her, not revenge wrapped in new muscle and a haircut. Forward momentum for its own sake. A life so genuinely full and directed that the question of whether she's watching becomes genuinely irrelevant. That irrelevance is not indifference, it is freedom. And freedom is the only foundation on which anything real can be built, including, if it ever comes to that, a relationship that actually holds the weight of two whole people. She didn't lose interest in you. She lost interest in the version of you that had lost interest in himself, and now you know. The question is whether you'll do anything with that knowledge, or whether you'll close this video, feel it for a few hours, and go back to checking her profile at midnight. Most men will choose the familiar ache over the unfamiliar work, but you are not most men, or you can be. That part has always been yours to decide.